Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the podcast. And today we are out at Black Whale Horse Camp in the Charles C. Dean Wilderness. And I have a fellow Hoosier YouTuber here, Andy Parrish from Andy Parrish Outdoors. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, and so as you guys know, I like to interview people who love the outdoors while we're outdoors. So today I'm going to ask Andy some questions about, well, first of all, let's just get started. How did you get started backpacking, hiking, and camping?
Let's see. In that order, it started with growing up. Car camping was something my family did all the time. You gotta love this group.
Michael Peterson.
Michael Peterson, yeah.
That's awesome.
You gotta love that.
Yeah.
You gotta love that. Where were we? So growing up, backpacking wasn't really a thing for me. Car camping was. Did that. You know, we had a pop-up camper that we would take out from time to time. So that kind of got me started on the outdoor stuff, but took a long break until really it was starting to have kids.
Yeah.
And I wanted to kind of recreate some of those same memories. So you know, the wife and I said, let's you know, get a tent and go to one of the state parks and, you know, camp for the weekend, Memorial Day or something like that. So we started doing that with some friends probably 10, 12 years ago and really enjoyed it, and that's kind of grown into its own thing. And then there was another side that I really liked, just the idea of getting out solo. You know, to be honest, there was a lot of inspiration that came from YouTube channels.
Yeah.
Probably 6, 7, 8 years ago, and there weren't a lot on the channels back then, but just the idea of getting out and seeing different areas, and I had never done the whole backpacking thing, so you know, I was into a lot of, you know, bushcraft channels and backpacking channels, and I had no clue how to bring those kind of things together. So, you know, some of my first solo trips were a weird Frankenstein's monster of a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
My first backpacking trip, couldn't fit everything into my backpack. So I'm literally like walking down the trail with like a sleeping bag under one arm and, you know, a big winter coat under the other one. And, you know, I learned a lot and had a lot of fun, but those were just, you know, pop in the woods overnight and then back to the car in the morning. And I liked that, but I didn't know what I was doing, so I kept watching more and learning, and there's so much, you know, in this field.
Yeah.
It was really interesting, you know, watching people that were doing, you know, long hikes and, you know, through hiking and all of that. And so I picked up a lot of things and decided, you know, I think I want to get more into the backpacking side than the bushcrafting stuff. So I kind of left some of the, you know, leave the axe at home, leave the
Right.
big knife to process all the wood, and let's kind of streamline things. And probably about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, it really kind of just, once I did it solo, I fell in love with it, and it's something now that I look to do on my own, and I've really enjoyed then how it kind of branches into a community.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's so many people that that I've met through it, that I now hike with and do things with, so I've really enjoyed just the camaraderie that comes with it, the Michael Peterson, you know, photo bomb kind of stuff. It's just a good time.
How, so what would you say would be your favorite trail in Indiana that you've done so far?
That's a good question. I would say probably, I really enjoyed doing the Tecumseh Trail as a nice, easy kind of first, you know, multi-day distance trail. We did that 4 days, 3 nights. It was, with all of our side trails and everything, was just under 50 miles. But we had a blast doing that. I did that last year with Brent from Smolder Outdoors and just another guy that I've met in the backpacking world, and just really enjoyed that. We've done a bunch since then, but I would still, that kind of has a special place just because it was the first multi-day long.
I think it was the first for me as well, and that is a nice, just a nice, easy hike.
It is, and I think it's great for, people ask, you know, where should I start? What are some great beginner trails when I want to do maybe multi-day?
Yeah.
And you may not have to do the whole thing, but even if you just do a section hike of that, it's some nice scenery. There's a section near Yellowwood where you're coming out into the lake. It's just a beautiful, and there's a couple shelters on the trail too, so you get a feel for camping at the shelters. And there's other people out doing the exact same thing, so you meet people that are doing a whole section or the whole thing, and so it's kind of a neat thing, and that's one that I recommend a lot of people. Just go, if you want to try this and you want to kind of go to the next step beyond just an overnight in the woods. That's a great one here in Indiana.
What is your what would you say would be your one of the bucket list trails? It doesn't have to be in Indiana, but like what do you really want to do?
Yeah, that's a long list.
Well, pick one.
Pick one. So I would probably say the idea of going out to the Wind River Range out in Wyoming. That's one that's really high on my list. We're trying to plan something right now to hopefully do that, but I really enjoyed. I've had a chance to go out west twice now. I've done a New Mexico hike. I've done a Colorado hike, and I've kind of like to keep moving towards the Pacific Northwest. So I'll, maybe Wyoming this year, and maybe the Sawtooths the following year. But
Sawtooths are just beautiful.
I would love to get up that way, and then maybe cap it with Glacier.
Yeah. Absolutely. What would you say? So you've been doing this a little while, and so you've got some experience under your belt. What would you say would be the best piece of advice that you would give somebody just starting out, either with gear or with just getting on the trail? Yeah,
I probably. I would probably have people seek out. There's so many resources and information. I found YouTube as a great resource for myself of getting up to speed, of learning tips and tricks, learning about different gear. There's so much you can learn. So, and I like to kind of research and learn what's out there. And but that helped me so much when I really decided I wanted to go down that rabbit hole, because up till then I was not doing a whole lot of research, buying all the wrong things.
Yeah, I was too.
Things that, lasted one trip and I would never bring it out again on trail with me again. So I started watching people that have way more experience than I did. What are they doing? And you may not agree with everything they do or how they do it, but there were always little things that I'd find, I really like their cook setup, or I really like that backpack. I'd like to learn more about it, or wow, that's a really cool tent, or it was a buddy that turned me on to hammocking. Yeah. So I'd never really thought about that when I started backpacking. It was just tent camping alone, and now if you give me the choice, I'm going to be in a hammock 99 times out of 100. So
yep. Cool. So where do you hope to take your channel?
Well, it's strange. The channel has been something that has kind of just happened. I do a lot with scouts. We do a lot of trips with the youth, with the guys, and it was kind of a way, originally, I started just with pictures. So I would go on some of these campouts and trips, and I would just post pictures, and the parents were like, that's so awesome, I love finally feeling like I'm coming along for the ride. I can see what little Johnny's doing, and oh, there he is in a canoe, and there you guys are at the campfire, and all of that stuff. And I thought, that's really neat. I've watched these guys on YouTube. I think the parents would really enjoy seeing a little bit more of a long feature of, here's what it was like on the backpacking trip, or here's what it was like on the canoe trip. And so a lot of the early ones are, those kind of things. And then I would kind of fiddle around with other stuff, whether it was, oh, I've got some gear that I kind of like, and let me just talk to you about it. And again, it was just kind of something that was fun, and I didn't really know if it would ever go anywhere. And then it just kind of picked up steam over time. And I think it was probably really last year, 2020, that it just kind of grew by leaps and bounds, and it kind of started to accelerate. And then even into 21, I don't know if people are just watching that more, or, you know, I will say that some of my early stuff is pretty rough, is pretty raw. So as that's improved, maybe that's helped a little bit. But I just find it's fun, and for me, I started originally doing it for parents, for the kids, but also for myself and my kids. It was kind of one of those things that I wanted to be able to look back 2 years from now and, oh, I totally forgot about that, and I didn't even remember, you know, we had that joke that was going on, we caught that on film, and just some of that stuff is really neat to go back and watch. You know, the times, the memories kind of captured in a time capsule that goes back now forever. So that's really neat too.
It's kind of why I like events like this, because you get to meet other people who are doing the same thing that you're doing, and you get to learn from them, but you also get to the camaraderie. That's the community, and I've met more people through YouTube than I would ever on my own, right? Okay, well, so make sure you check out his channel, Andy Parrish Outdoors. Go give him a sub. Tell him THG sent you, and thank you for this short little interview. But remember to get out there and explore, guys. And we'll see you later. Peace.